Hello Sim Rally fans and welcome to my version 2 force feedback settings video for EA Sports WRC on the Fanatec CSL DD 8Nm and the Fanatec GT DD Pro 8Nm wheels. Right, so the main reason for the changes is, well, my previous settings, after a while of using them, I just felt the game was a little bit numb, so I set about trying to correct that, which you can see main changes in the Fanalab control is well down here, but I'll just go through everything else at the moment. We've left the wheel on 8Nm, so we need it in order to get that. We need it on peak, not linear. We don't have enough Newton meters to play around with. If you've got a 16 Newton meter wheel or a 21 or a 25 or whatnot, you can get away with having it on linear. But for us down here in the low realms of 8Nm, we need it on peak just to get all the Newton meters available. Sensitivity, I've left that on auto. It is creating some problems when I'm watching replays, having to spin the wheel left and right. So if you want to keep that down, I think the highest lock car in the game is the Volkswagen Golf GTI in the H2 category. I think that's at 1120 degrees for the lock. So you can drag it down there. In fact, I might just leave that there now. Force feedback strength, left at 100. Obviously peak for that, we've just been through that. Natural damper, this is on the wheel. That's independent of what the game does. I've left that on 20. It gives a nice weighty feel during the whilst during the menus. It also helps on the gameplay as well. Natural friction, that just adds a dead weight to the wheel. It doesn't adjust or scale in any way. That helps mimic like the drag you feel on power assisted cars. It's there just to add a little bit of weight to the top dead center, really. Natural inertia, that reduces the stickiness of natural friction, and I think natural damper as well. So if you add too much damper, it can start to feel really sticky, the wheel, like really weighty, and it's difficult to quickly move it from left to right. So at 20%, I've left it there because that felt all right, that did. It just takes that stickiness away, so you can quickly swap from left to right when you're going through a tight sequence of corners. FFB interpolation filter, I believe. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correct. I've left that at 3. The higher you take this, it'll smooth out the FFB, but you'll start to lose feeling. So I've left this on 3. I found if I go to 2, the force feedback just got a bit too grainy in the game. Onto force effect intensity, leave that at 100. Same with strength. We want to feel everything the game's putting out. Now for the major changes that I've made in Fanalab. This was run at 0 before, but it left the top dead center of the wheel feeling a bit light when you're running down the straights. What I've noticed, this seems to add that weight back, roughly like 20-25 degrees left and right. But I didn't want all of it, so because it just felt a bit too heavy compared to what I feel on my road car. So I've just knocked this down a bit. Well, I'll say knocked it down. I've brought it up from 0 to 40%. It's feeling much better now. Now the game damper effect strength. Now I've dropped this from 100 to 20, and the reason that is because I've found that one of the settings in the game was actually scaling the damper. So I wasn't too impressed with that because it's not in its own, like the in-game damper is not in its own setting. It's scaling with something else, which I'll touch on in just a second when we go into the in-game setting. So I'll put this down to 20. It's brought the game alive for me, if I'm honest. You can actually feel everything that's going on underneath the car now. I've taken all that excessive damping out of the game. So let's just dive into the in-game settings now. Right, let's get into the actual settings. Let's go across to vibration. Right, so firstly I'll touch on what was scaling the damping, and that was tire friction. The higher you took that, the more dampening the game produces on the steering wheel. Now before I was running at 6, and it was because of that reason. I felt that the game was becoming heavily damped, the more I increased it. So now in the new settings, I obviously reduced the game dampening in Fanalab, but I've picked tire friction up from 6 to 69. And that gives you that swaying motion when the car's moving from left to right. You can feel that a hell of a lot more now. So it just really brings that alive, that does. Self-aligned torque, that's dropped 2 from 58 to 56. Main reason for that was because on the long radius corners, especially in the Rally 1 cars with the downforce, this steering wheel got extremely heavy, like to the point where you couldn't really give it any more. Well, I do have tiny twigs of forearms, so I'll give myself the benefit of the doubt. So just to make it a bit more comfortable for myself when I'm doing the car setups, I've just dropped it by 2. You can go up to 60. I mean, it depends if you go to the gym or not. I mean, like I said, my arms are twigs. If you've got big muscly arms, you might actually get away with running 60s or anything above 60 as well. But that's basically dealer's choice on that one. Do what you like with it. It's your settings at the end of the day that you're going to be creating. So you can go as low as you want, or you can go as high as you want. But for me, I'm settling on 56. It feels good for me. Wheel friction, that just adds an overall weight to the wheel. I've gone up 20 from 34 to 54 on that. That's mainly because I've knocked out the in-game dampening. So it's just to add that weight back into the wheel. Next up, suspension. Now because we've knocked out some of that dampening, all these vibration settings here, these 4: suspension, tire slip, engine, and collision, they've got a lot more feel to them. So I've knocked that suspension down from 125 to 100. It feels pretty realistic. I mean, we've all driven on motorways. You get a slight bit of vibration through the wheel at 70 miles an hour. And that's what we're getting now with this going back to 100 and that in-game dampening removed. Tire slip, you don't get any vibration through the wheel when your tires are slipping. I mean, I've done a few burnouts in my time. I don't remember the steering wheel vibrating in any way. Same when I've ever had the car understeering, it hasn't vibrated. But it's just to have a little bit of feel there when it does happen. You don't want it to be excessive, but you just want to know it's happening in game because you don't really get the full senses. So it's there, it's light, you can just about feel it, but it's not excessive in any way. Which is what I've settled on 85. Engine, I've left that at 100. That only really comes into play when you are redlining the engine. You'll notice that more at the start line. When you floor in the throttle, the wheel will start to vibrate. Just adds that little bit of edge to the game. I think that does. I do like that. Collision, again, because the dampening's been reduced, I've knocked that down 10 from 100 to 90. Just to stop the the wheel shaking too violently. Soft lock, this is when you reach the end of your steering lock travel. You can set it on 100. That'll be like a dead hit. I like it to bounce a bit, so I've reduced it to 75. Which, yeah, that was the same as my previous setting, so I haven't changed that at all. Steering center force, I'll leave that off because what this does is it auto centers the wheel when you respawn the car or start a stage again or restart. So I don't like the wheel spinning when I'm not causing it to spin, basically. So you can have that on if you're running the high lock cars. It's not really necessary when you're running the modern cars. This option down below just scales that force, so you can turn it down to 50 if you want it on. Just don't run it 100 and leave your hands in it, because that's 80 newton meters of force spinning around with your thumbs inside the wheel. It's going to hurt if you're not expecting it, so just be careful of that setting. Pedal vibration, I left this on 100 for my old Fanatec V3 pedals. I'm not running them anymore. I'm on the Huskenveld sprint pedals now, but 100 felt good enough when I was running it, so I've just left that there for you guys anyway. The final thing I want to touch on is linearity, however you pronounce it. Now I have created a nice handy guide for this, so I'm just going to pop that on screen now. Now, from what you can see here, I've gone through every single car in the game. I've figured out what the actual lock is for each individual car down to the degree. Now, what I felt from some of the older cars compared to my road car was that the steering towards the center was, well, somewhat vague. It basically made the cars less fun to drive than they should be. It also didn't compare to what I'd feel in my road car either. Like my road car, you tweak it top dead center, just from left to right, you get a bit of a wiggle on the go, just a tiny one. But in the game, you're getting absolutely jack. So what I've done is I've created this nice little guide for you. Every single car is covered. You can see it there. The higher the wheel lock, the more you'll drop into the minuses. So the highest you'll go is -3. Some of the cars from the 90s and 80s, they'll be going into -1. Anything around 750 basically will be -1. 560, it's all going to be 0, as you can see with all the newer cars here. Into the 900s, you're going to -2, 1000 plus -3. It's all pretty straightforward, but you will have to change it manually every time you change the car. That's the only downside to this, but it does really bring the cars alive, so I highly recommend you use it. I think that's pretty much everything I need to cover today. So if you like the settings, obviously drop a like on the video, drop a comment on why you like them as well. That would be really helpful. Really gives me a gauge of how to develop wheel settings in the future to what most people like. If you've changed the settings at all to suit your own preference, drop those changes in the comments below as well, because my settings, they're not be all and end all of it all. You've got your own preferences too, but please share those with the community, because this channel is all about helping the community. So if someone's got some settings that they think's better below from tweaks from mine, go for it. Drop them in the comments. I want to see what everyone else is doing, and I might even give some of them a try. Who knows? So yeah, that's everything now. I hope you enjoy the settings I've created for you. Yeah, have a good day.